33, 34, 64, 57, 62. With Gossman, you almost never know if he's going to be really good or terrible on any given day, and typically he's one or the other. It's why Orioles fans were so frustrated with him. Even the advanced metrics see a bipolar act. His ERA is 5.56, his FIP is 3.7, and his xFIP is 4.44. He's both unlucky and lucky at the same time due to a low lob percentage driving up his ERA, while lower than normal home runs per 9 is driving down his FIP. I've compared Gossman to the young versions of Odalis Perez and Jason Marquis that came through Atlanta. Amazing stuff, potential to be lights out each time out, but you always prepare for the bad version to show up. To me, either pitcher could be replaced, but I would move Gossman before Tehran because there might be a way to get more value out of Gossman as a reliever. Gossman has never really had a dependable third pitch in the majors. At no point has his slider or changeup ever graded well in terms of pitch value. He makes do in a decent fastball and a really good, though not always reliable, splitter. Perhaps a move to the pen could help. For whatever it's worth, hitters facing Gossman the first time through the order when he starts have a 312 WOBA. It goes up to 341 the second time through the order and stabilizes to 327 the third time. That drop is likely due to good Gossman earning a chance to pitch deeper into the game, whereas bad Gossman's already been removed before the third time through the order. Let Gossman do what Sean Newcomb has done as an attacking reliever, and perhaps the Braves will benefit. As one little aside, having Gossman in the pen also gives you a capable option to move to the rotation when you do want to skip Soroka or Free to manage their innings better. But who replaces Gossman in the rotation? I was thinking about Madison Bumgarner recently and came away not that impressed. Sure, Bumgarner is a better bet than Gossman, but I want an obvious improvement, not a moderate one. And since the Braves love reuniting with former Braves, why not try to get Mike Minor from the Rangers? Yes, that Mike Minor. After injuries helped cut short his time with the Braves, Minor resurfaced as a reliever for the Royals in 2017 and was dynamic in his new role. But what he wanted was a starting gig and left Kansas City in free agency to sign a 3-year deal with the Rangers. Last year was a disappointment in some regards, but kind of lost after his terrible start was a guy who got stronger as the year progressed. He shaved almost 2 runs off his ERA when you compare his second half with the first half. He became harder to hit, his strikeouts went up noticeably, and he started to look like the Minor of old. All this despite playing in Arlington, Texas during the summer while shouldering a full season load as a starter for the first time in 4 years. This season, Minor's been on another level. Sure, he's a bit lucky, and his ERA is due some regression, but he's also been very good with a 2.74 ERA, 3.44 FIP, and a 2.1 F4. His changeup has always been a plus pitch, but it's been damn near unhittable. A 182 average against with a 216 slugging against. The pitch is among league leaders when it comes to horizontal break, getting about 4 more inches of break versus the average. He combines the 86 mile per hour changeup with a fastball that has a ridiculous spin rate and a bit more sinking action than the average. Even his slider is getting more movement this year, along with a curveball that drops off a cliff. Minor has all the attributes you want at first glance for a guy that the Braves would be wise to trade for. He has 4 capable pitches to go to, has shown the ability to pitch through the order 3 times with no extreme drop-off in quality throughout his career. And did I mention he's team controlled for another season? Due to the remainder of his $9.5 million salary this year and a full $9.5 million next year, Minor is a relative bargain provided his pitching is sustainable, and very little about his performance so far suggests he won't continue to be a solid arm moving forward this year and next. Not for nothing, but it wouldn't be the worst thing to have a second left-handed arm to face start when facing the Bryce Harper-led Phillies, the Anthony Rizzo-led Cubs, or the Max Muncy / Cody Bellinger / Jock Peterson-led Dodgers. There are, of course, a few issues that should be pointed out in all fairness. Minor missed a few starts last season, and his 157 innings during 2018 is the most innings he has pitched in the last 5 years, not including this season. That lack of durability shouldn't be completely ignored. Further, if the Braves are looking for a battle-tested arm who has been there before, Minor really isn't it. He did start a game in the 2013 NLDS, outpitching Zach Greinke and leading the Braves to their only victory of the series over the Dodgers. But let's be honest, that's not Mad Bum level, and Minor has no other postseason experience. Finally, while it seems hard to believe, the Rangers entered play today sitting at 30-27. While they trailed the Astros by 8 games, they have the second wild card spot. Their offense has been shockingly good. Why is that such a shock? The Rangers are in second in the AL in runs scored, largely because of Shin-Soo Choo, Hunter Pence, Logan Forsythe, and Danny Santana. Remember, the year is 2019. The longer the Rangers stay in it, the less likely they become to trade off Minor. But if there is a drop-off from that veteran core of guys you didn't know still playing the majors, John Daniels has to consider doing Minor while his value might be at its highest. That makes him a bit more expensive, but perhaps the right fit for the Atlanta Braves. No, this shouldn't be the only thing they do. Yes, they should absolutely add bullpen depth, but this is not an either-or proposition. Upgrade the rotation, upgrade the bullpen, and let's see what this team can do. Bring Mike Minor back home and reap the benefits. Mike Minor needs to come home for the Atlanta Braves. The Rangers are in contention, but we'll see what happens with that. Even though the calendar reads June, and that typically makes you think it's too early to make any conclusions about the season yet, teams are hitting 54 games played this week. That marks 1/3 of the season. Major League Baseball recently released their All-Star Game ballots, which prompts fans to start thinking about who the best players of the season so far have been. Many races are still close, and big changes can happen. But through the end of May, it seems as if some races are really starting to take shape. NL Most Valuable Player, Cody Bellinger, Los Angeles Dodgers. Bellinger is so far ahead of the competition now, it may actually be a surprise that the 23-year-old breakout player doesn't win the award. That's not to say Yelich, DeYoung, and Arenado, among others, are weak competition. Bellinger's had a pretty wild start with a 4.4 F4, 5.3 B-WAR, and a 3.8 WARP. Through 232 plate appearances, Bellinger's posted an OPS plus of 219. The last time another batter matched his 213 WRC plus through the beginning of June was Bryce Harper in 2015 when he won the MVP. Bellinger also beats Harper in terms of stolen bases and defensive ability, with 20 home runs, second in the MLB, a 505 xWOBA, leading MLB by a large margin, 4 outs above average, tied 7th in the MLB, 7 outfield assists, second in the MLB, a 3.58 WPA, tops in the league by a large margin. Every facet of his game has impressed, and he would clearly be the unanimous MVP if the season ended today. My runners-up, Christian Yelich of the Brewers, Paul DeYoung of the Cardinals, Nolan Arenado of the Rockies. Should Bellinger slow down, Yelich, DeYoung, or Arenado could potentially catch up to him by the end of the season. The reigning MVP Yelich has picked up right where he left off last season as the best home run hitter in the league. Yelich has 21 home runs, and although most have come in a hitter-friendly Miller Park, there's reason that not every Brewers player has an ISO of 400. Paul DeYoung has been off to a surprising start with a 136 WRC plus as a shortstop. Arenado has finished between 3rd and 8th in MVP voting in each of the last 4 seasons, and his combination of hitting and defensive ability might lead him to a 5th. AL Most Valuable Player, Mike Trout, Los Angeles Angels. When in doubt, go with Trout. The Angels star hasn't made headlines with his performance, yet the stat shown to be a decent bit ahead of anybody else in the American League. Maybe it's because the Angels are struggling, or because putting up MVP numbers has become the norm in his career. Either way, his performance so far is notable. He has a 168 WRC plus while playing center field and impressing on the base paths once again. His overall offensive output has been lower than some of his previous years, but that's partly due to a 282 BABIP that could rise. Even with that, he has the most offensive value of any American League player according to Fangraphs. Trout is walking over 20% of the time and striking out only 15.9% of the time. His 4 DRS shows his defense isn't something to sleep on either. My runners-up, George Springer, Houston Astros, Alex Bregman, Houston Astros, Jorge Polanco, Minnesota Twins. The Astros are once again easily leading the AL West, this time not on the backs of Altuve or Correa, but the younger Bregman and George Springer. Springer actually has a higher WRC plus than Trout, but it looks like his latest hamstring injury could stop him from being an MVP candidate by the end of the season. Alex Bregman has put up 2.8 F4, 2.9 B-WAR, and a 2.8 WARP. Polanco has been surprisingly elite a year after his PED suspension and has matched Joey Gallo as dark horse MVP candidates this early. Let's get into our next award and look at the frontrunners for the NL Cy Young. My pick, Steven Strasburg, Washington Nationals. The Cy Young Award through a third of the season is very close between two teammates, Steven Strasburg and Max Scherzer. Ultimately, it goes to Strasburg for having an ever so slightly better ERA, xFIP, and DRA in a couple more innings. It feels as if Strasburg has now been around forever, but he's still only 30 and still just figuring it all out now. Strasburg has impressed, never not making it 2 times through the order, and just about pitching 3 times through the order every game, and still holding batters to a 244 WOBA then. His 3+ pitches have helped lead to a 3.19 ERA with a 2.93 xFIP and a 3.19 SIERA. Runners-up, Max Scherzer, Washington Nationals, German Marquez, Colorado Rockies, and Hyunjin Ryu, Los Angeles Dodgers. As mentioned previously, Scherzer could just as easily be the pick here because of his superior strike percentage to walk percentage and SIERA. Even at his age, it seems like Scherzer never declines. He'll likely be among contenders by the end of the season too. Marquez is the latest surprise in Rockies' pitcher success story. He holds a 71 ERA and is minus, and his 2.5 B-WAR is easily on pace to break his career high. Hyunjin Ryu had a great ERA in 2018, but a lack of innings stopped people from believing it was significant. Another 65 and a third innings of sub-2 ERA is now starting to turn heads as Ryu is helping lead the Dodgers to a division lead. AL Cy Young, Matthew Boyd, Detroit Tigers. The American League Cy Young is an interesting award so far this season. Not only are there not many great candidates, but not many of them are who you would expect based on last season's Cy Young race. Top among the surprises is Matthew Boyd, one of the few bright spots of Detroit's season thanks to some changes in his game. Boyd is first among AL pitchers in F4 by 0.4, has the 7th lowest ERA, the 3rd most innings, and the 9th best xFIP. He also ranks 7th in strikeout percentage and hasn't had any troubles with walking batters or allowing hard contact. Runners-up, Garrett Cole, Houston Astros, Lucas Giolito, Chicago White Sox, and Frankie Montas, Oakland Athletics. Cole is an interesting candidate because his ERA is actually 4.02, but his peripherals are impressive enough that it seems that his true level of play is deserved of consideration. He is striking out of 14 batters per 9 innings with a large workload, but 21.4% of fly balls going over the fence in Houston has hurt his performance on face value. Cole's 3.1 DRA demonstrates how he's pitched more accurately. Giolito, a former top prospect, has completely transformed his game and bounced back from a horrible season to be one of the best in the league so far. His ERA has dropped from 6.13 to 2.85, and his FIP has dropped from 5.56 to 2.85 as well. Frankie Montas has saved Oakland's rotation so far, putting up a surprising 2.0 F4 and 1.7 WARP thanks to a high 90s fastball and a 17.9 strikeout percent to walkout percent. Alright, yeah, that is going to wrap it up for our show today. Thank you all for tuning in to BPN Weekly. We'll be here back again this coming up Sunday. Loved the debut episode. Hope you guys all enjoyed it, and I hope to see you guys back here on Sunday. We're going to try to put up a mailbag this week on the Baseball Podcast Network Instagram account to answer any of your guys' questions. Hopefully the podcast continues to grow as the network grows, and I had a super fun time talking with you guys this evening. No matter how you listen, live, archived, we appreciate it. Make sure you stop by next Sunday, and make sure you subscribe on all podcast platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and iTunes, as well as the Spreaker app. My name is Benson Factor. We'll see you next Sunday. This has been BPN Weekly. a Baseball Podcast Network production.